Lost World just might be the worst level in the game. It has to be the one that I remember the least fondly. Even on a second run through, you'll take 10 minutes to beat it. One of the reasons is that this level is a beat 'em up level. Because that's what the original level was like, right? Yeah. The water snake may have been hated, but that was because of glitchy programming causing you to slide off it that this game wouldn't have had. Instead, they decided to have no memorable set pieces at all, in favor of a confusing room full of floors that go in a spiral, and you're expected to know to always go in the center every time to progress. At one point you have to go downwards into a loop-de-loop. Downwards to progress upwards. Some of the enemies have projectiles, some of them have shields. The really annoying thing is that the forced combat sections also force you to hit switches to progress on top of that. Switches that unintuitively will only work after you've beaten every enemy in the room. And some of them you just hit switches and you don't have to fight the enemies, but that's inconsistent because you're gonna get confused and defeat all the enemies anyways just in case. At one point, I got stuck and wondered if I'd be unable to beat the level at one point because I hit the switch before defeating all the enemies. Nothing happened, and I ended up backtracking to hit it again twice. Why does the switch not look any different after you hit it? Why does the red gate look red even after you defeat all of the enemies? So if you see it from a distance, you might not realize the lasers are gone. I wonder if this level has even been playtested. Just trying to clumsily keep momentum in the very first attempt at a speed section of the level should have been a warning sign to not release it yet. Speed sections don't work as a reward, they flat out don't work. I can't keep going fast in these things if the tunnel turns so much that I keep hitting walls and going out of ball form because of it, and I get slowed down by the upward slopes too. Why are there upward slopes in the middle of a speed section if there's not even, like, spike balls, like, ahead of them? The music is also one of the worst parts about this level because the percussion in the background is so loud that's very distracting. And doesn't even sound good. It sounds like something scratching against the carpet. I don't understand why they couldn't have gone with the Act 1 music for this level. I mean, instead they decided to go with the music for Knuckles' version of this level. And that version of the level doesn't even appear here. And oh yeah, that's another thing. Another memorable set piece the level doesn't have is the walking on the walls tiles thing. In the treasure hunting level, the first time I tried it, I took forever and ended up giving up. The thing is that they're trying to turn a speed level, a regular Sonic level, into a treasure hunting level. And the thing about that is, basically, like, you're going through it normally, and you can pretty easily, if you miss out on a red ring, because you have to be way too close to a red ring for the radar to detect it, then you're gonna end up just going through the entire level never finding it. I ended up beating the treasure hunting my second time through, but I don't really know how I feel about that. This is another level where it feels like the flying type is almost mandatory. Like, the platforming can be kind of tricky. At the very least, like, there is one good part of this level. 5 minutes and 19 seconds in is the best part of the level. It's a long sandy hill where you can just roll down it. It's the one functioning speed section in the game. And even then, it only remembers that you should be speeding up from rolling downhill by the end. And there's also a bunch of trees in your way that can stop you. And after that sandy hill is the one tunnel in this level that actually is designed well because you just go straight through it. And it doesn't have upward slopes in the middle of it stopping you, like slowing you down. But you're probably gonna hit the wall instead of just naturally rolling into it from the sandy hill anyways. And I clipped through the floor! Yay! Not sure how that happened. You know, maybe not playtested was... Maybe I was right about it not being playtested. On the bright side, there's another thing I like about this level. It feels like a legitimate challenge, like jumping over fire in a narrow speed section. It feels like it's adding an interactivity, like you're not just running ahead. which is good because in an adventure game, without the boost, you're not really running fast when you're running ahead anyways. So you might as well. Like, I remember this level, one of the bad things that I remember about this level was snowboarding, because I remembered, like, snowboarding on a narrow area with bottomless pits on either side of it. But actually, even when you're doing it without any rings left, they really need to have more rings in this section. It is not really that bad. You just have to jump at the right times. It's the best snowboarding section in the game so far. By the way, Chaos is Knuckles. That's basically what he is. I feel like he was better in Sonic Adventure 2 because he had punches that actually reached far. Although still not far enough. Like, he can climb, he can have very short-ranged attacks. I really don't see the point. Also, I hate the lack of a vertical bar on the stage select screen telling you how close you are to the bottom of it. Because it makes it feel like it's dragging on forever and you'll never reach the bottom. Now for Love Garden. Yay, an original level! Except sometimes it doesn't load correctly. Let's take a look at Love Garden, and holy crap, the frame rate is awful. This is literally unplayable. This was my first impression when I went back to it. Now, it can potentially load up working just fine. But here's my first impression. It somehow got even worse than the last time I tried it. See, I remember first played this level. After that, I tried to go to the treasure hunting level, and the game crashed. So at least it didn't crash this time. But the big problem with this level is that sometimes it can load up, and the frame rate is just so terrible that you can't really play it because there's terrible input delay on everything you do. And even with the broken flying type characters, you can barely play the level. But from what I've experienced, most of the time the level loads up just fine, and you can play it just fine. I remember this level. It's a beat-em-up level with an inexplicably fixed camera. Now it's going to be really a pain in the ass if you're coming into this place without a flying type that can skip the forced combat. Like, this level's a lot shorter than I remember it to be. Like, you can beat it in like 30 seconds if you can fly. But yeah, the fixed camera is a problem because if you can't fly to skip the room where you have to hit switches to progress, so maybe you don't have to fight the enemies. But anyways, you have to walk backwards towards the camera to hit both of those switches to progress. And I really don't see the point of having two switches for like two different gates if both of the gates lead ahead anyways. Like, there's really no wrong answer. But yeah, this level is a lot better than I remember it to be, but only if it loads up right. Like, if it doesn't, you won't even really be able to climb walls well. The locations of all of the red rings completely changes, re-randomizes if you die before collecting even one of them. I took over 5 minutes my first time because the last red ring, I wasn't really sure where it was supposed to be. I just don't understand how they could have missed this glitch. But when it does load up right, it's fine. I like this level when it decides to work. It's fun to fly over everything. Just be careful where you land because the game has no drop shadow, and that's especially annoying when the camera is pulled back so far. It's very hard to tell where precisely you'll actually land. It's satisfying getting more distance with your flight by spin dash jumping before flying, but the problem is that you can barely get enough landing room to spin dash. You have to walk forward while holding down the B button for a little bit before you can spin dash jump, and there isn't generally enough room to do that without like hitting a wall that destroys your momentum or something. And the slightest things will ruin your momentum and cause you to start flying ahead very slowly as usual. It's so frustrating. I can beat this level in 27 seconds at best, and I still don't get an S rank. What is the S rank in this game based on how many enemies you kill? I wouldn't expect that of a fan game. I would expect that of a clueless official Sonic game that doesn't understand that ranking Sonic should only be about speed. But yeah, you have to hold down B for an exact amount of time to do the spin dash. Not too much and not too little. Also, at one point, my game stopped playing music for a while, but it came back the second time I left the black market. Like, something I can't believe I forgot is that I love that the Chao Garden auto-saves. One of the biggest problems I had with the Chao system in SA2 was that the game doesn't autosave, and there's no way to save the game without saving it quitting, and thus respawning all of the, like, spawning all the Chao in completely different locations, potentially sending Sleeping Chao into the water. So, you would spend hours in the Chao Garden without saving, and if your game froze, well, sucks to be you. So, it really does feel more polished when this Chao Garden has an autosave, because it feels like they're actually taking into account the fundamental problems of the original Chao system and improving upon it, which is why it makes it so frustrating how underdeveloped it is most of the time. And I hate Chao flying straight up when I'm trying to give them Chaos Drives, because that means that I can't give them Chaos Drives anymore. Like, I think in SA2, you could give a flying Chao Chaos Drive no problem as long as you were level with it. It just is also annoying because they're flying straight up. It just seems unnatural, like they're wasting their time flying. Like, this isn't a garden that has a place where a Chao can climb up to a really high point and just start flying all over it. Like the Hero Garden with its whatever it's called at the top of it. Like, that is in the game, but the Chao aren't very likely to be all the way over there. And now for another original level, Chocolate Pit. Okay, this definitely reminds me of a Mario Kart level. I can even hear the music and everything. Or is that the Donut Plains music? Attention game developers, finding emerald shards in the distance while gliding around is fun. Being forced to beat enemies and go into clumsy, spike ball-filled narrow passages to find them is not fun. The end of the level essentially pulled the same dick move that Tokyo Street did, having an underground section that has a red ring in it. At least it didn't take nearly as long because of it this time. I already said that being forced to beat enemies all the time in a Sonic game is Sonic 06 levels of game design, and the same applies to treasure hunting. This level is all wide open as if it's expecting you to fly all over the place to see red rings from a distance. But what does that matter if you're forced to get right up close to a whole bunch of enemies and defeat all of them to find all the red rings anyways? I don't think emerald shards, or anything you're looking for in treasure hunting levels, I don't think they should be in enemies. It's just not fun. This level will have you just go straight past the red rings if you don't just stop and kill every enemy like it's Lost World again. Even the level design itself is a sloppy clusterfuck of clumsily scattered enemies everywhere. There's no level design, just walls and enemies with no rhyme or reason just put wherever. I'm sensing a pattern here. Why does every original level in this game have to suck? It's annoying because it really doesn't have to be that way. I'm starting to think that maybe the reason they rip off level design from official Sonic levels so much is because they don't feel like they can make original good level design. And there is plenty of original level design in this game that's good, especially at the beginning of the game. At least there's only one balloon to find in a balloon mission, and it follows the same rules as the other missions for the sake of consistency. Find a hidden teleporter that plops you right in front of the balloon. But I don't like spike balls falling right on top of me in the narrow passageway, and being suddenly cheap-shotted from off-screen twice by robots twirling around like ballerinas. Although that is kind of funny. I would have laughed if I were in a better mood. Like with Misty Gorge, this level isn't bad to play per se, it's just that it's very half-assed, bland, and underwhelming, especially since there are plenty of awesome levels in the game. Like, just as a reminder, this game does have plenty of fun levels in it. Final Rush, Seaside Hill, Ocean Palace, Wild Canyon, Crisis City, Middle Harbor, Pumpkin Castle, Emerald Coast, I guess, Green Hill, Rusty Ruins, Treasure Hunting, Dry Lagoon, Bridge Zone, and Love Garden are fun to fly over. So just so we're clear, this game's still great. It's just that it seems to not have as great levels towards the end of the game, and isn't that true for all Sonic games, really? I can only think of one Sonic game where the end of the game is the best part. And even then, that might be a little controversial, because a lot of people don't like Chaos Angel. Me, I find it a fun challenge. And the only level in the game where the enemy placement, for the most part, isn't insanely cheap. The point is that this level, even though it's wide open, it just forces you to defeat enemies, like it's a forced combat beat-em-up level anyways. And maybe I just haven't played it enough, but that seems to be the impression I'm getting.